Dr. Don Colbert helps patients treat the root causes of illnesses through medical, nutritional, and spiritual care. He's passionate about sharing biblical principles for health through his best-selling books, television appearances, and speaking engagements. Dr. Colbert's treated more than 40,000 patients in 20 years and continues to help equip individuals with healthy lifestyle changes.
I think I'd rather hear you speak than listen to me, but I've read that book several times, and really, the Lord showed me that, you know, when Adam was on the earth, he wasn't eating processed food. He was eating whole natural food. And then that revelation expanded when I read that book. And I've read your 7 pillars. I drink alkaline water. Your teaching has changed my life, and I really appreciate it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And again, living foods are simply realized. The revelation is what came on with Mary about 10 years ago when we were in Las Vegas at a medical seminar. And I have been telling her for years and years, Mary, life breeds life. Living foods breeds life. Death or dead foods breed death. Now, at this hotel we were staying in Las Vegas at this medical convention, there was the most amazing buffet you've ever seen. And then I said, Mary, I want you to watch the people that go up and eat the dead food, and then watch the people that go up and eat the buffet full of living foods.
Now, I have to tell you, I'm one of 8 children. My father was in the military, and I was raised, whatever was put in front of you was food.
Now, she didn't know chicken had a breast until she was 21. Tell them, Mary.
It's true. I didn't know a chicken had a breast until I was 21. I thought it had a leg or a thigh, you know, or a leg or a wing. That's right. And I remember 21.
That's all she ever ate was a leg and a wing.
I mean, you know, we were 8 kids in the military, and, you know, limited budget, and whatever was put in front of you, that was your food. You didn't question it, whether it was fried, deep fried, baked, or whatever. You ate it. And he, on the other hand, even though he was raised in Mississippi, this anointing on him of awareness, it's like we don't know where it came from, because his mother, being from Mississippi and a Southern cooking, he used to be in the kitchen all the time telling her, don't put that rat poison in my food. Why are you putting that fat? That's gross, Mom. He just made her life miserable.
It's true.
And I'll never forget when we got married, she goes, he is now your problem.
But going back to this big buffet, Mary saw it, and she would see the people that would go to the dead food, and they would be piling their plate full of sausage and bacon and biscuits and gravy and all this, and donuts.
What I call the good food. You know, it's all the good food over here. It's the biscuits and the gravy and the, you know, the bacon and the sausage and
the donuts
and the bagels and all the pastries and everything. And then over here was all of what Don calls the living food: the fruits, the vegetables, the whole grains, the oats. And
salmon,
he sat there and he sat there and he said, Mary, he says, I just want you to watch the people that go to this table and the people who go to that table. And I sat there and I thought, okay, you know, whatever. And I sat there and I was watching them. And next thing you know, I look and I see everyone going to the dead food, okay? Because death produces death. And what we call the dead processed food. Well, the men went looking like they were 9 months, ladies.
9 months pregnant.
You know, those poor men, I watched them. It's like, when's he going to deliver? When's your due date? My heart goes out to them because they never deliver.
That's right.
You know? At least we know we have a due date. And they're walking and they're shuffling. And they're gray.
Their appearance of their skin's gray.
And I'm watching, this is the truth.
They could barely pick their feet up. It was absolutely amazing. They couldn't pick their feet.
And then over on the living food, people spring, the trim, energy, their eyes are sparkling, their skin look full of color. And I just sat there and it was the most obvious. It was like watching death produce death. And that's when the light went off in me. And I said, Don, I get it. I get it. Life produces life. And so the more you eat close to God's original state of how God made the food, and you stay away from chicken McMysteries, you know? Eating it in its closest original state in which God made it.
No, don't eat it raw now.
No, we're not saying raw. Right. But you understand what I'm saying. The closer you eat, that is life. That's living food. That's what your body was made to take in. Anything that man's finger has touched and altered, the color, the shape, the dye, the preservatives, you get it? The closer to death it's actually producing.
And I've been telling people for years, generally speaking, the whiter the bread, the sooner you're dead. Now, church, and a lot of you are saying, that means I can never have white bread. No, I'm not saying ever. I'm saying, just limit it. Just limit it. And if you do, you've got to learn how to combine it with fibers, because you've got to lower the glycemic index, and it acts in your body just like eating sugar. And again, all of this is bringing moderation to you, because what I found years ago, when I was practicing medicine, and the pharmaceutical reps would bring us the most amazing lunches. I mean, they would go to the nicest restaurants, and they'd bring us in all this pasta and all this food, and I would eat that pasta and all the food they'd bring in, the rich food, and literally about 30 minutes to an hour later, I felt like I'd taken a drug. I felt like I'd been drugged. I was so tired, I could barely work. I could barely think. I could barely work. I had no energy. I just wanted to go in the back and take a nap. And then I finally said, my goodness, I'm eating dead food. And it's raising my serotonin level. It's making me exhausted. I have no energy. But when I put the right food in, lots of good vegetables, a little bit of whole grain starch with fiber in it, a little bit of protein, then, and some good fats, healthy fats. Guess what? I have energy, vitality, mental clarity for hours, 4 or 5 hours without any problem. But you got to put the right fuel mixture in. Many of you are putting better fuel in your car, much better fuel quality in your car than your body. And as a result, your body's not working properly. Now, one thing you can do, you can look at your nails and you can see on every one of our nails, we should have these little half moons at the base of our nails, except for on your little finger. And a sign of toxicity is when you lose these lunula on your fingernails. And so if you say, well, I don't have any lunula there, then they're the little white half moons at the base of each nail, and you should have a nice big one on each nail except for your little fingernail. And if you don't, your body's most likely toxic. And you're going to need some things like we have different chlorophyll boosting supplements that boost your chlorophyll, or you can use spirulina, or you can use glutathione boosting supplements to bring these half moons back, which is meaning your body's usually detoxifying. And the Chinese have known that for thousands of years, and they find when you don't have any lunula on your nails, it's generally a sign those people are at a much greater risk of developing cancer, according to the Chinese doctors. So again, that's why if you're lacking those lunula, it's important to get on some of these chlorophyll drinks. We have an organic green superfood that really brings them back, or spirulina, or a glutathione boosting supplement.
And how do you get a chance to get to see you?
Just call our office.
Just call our office.
He'll make an appointment like everybody else.
Or go to
and the other doctor.
drcolbert.com.
He
Okay,
sees patients on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and usually we're traveling, speaking, and ministering the other days.
Hello.
Hi, well, thank you for coming. I just want to say that
Well, thank you.
it was informational, and the stand-up comedy was awesome as well. So thank you for that. My question's pretty generic. I've done some research on vitamins, and from what I've read, there's really good supplements and ones that don't even metabolize, digest. They just come right out, and they don't do anything at all. How do you know what is a good brand vitamin,
Well,
what's
again,
going to work
I
and what's
teach
not
you a
going
lot
to
of that
work?
in the book, 7 Pillars. And again, what you want to look for is a pharmaceutical grade supplement. There's food grade, there's pharmaceutical grade. A lot of the pharmaceutical companies, unfortunately, are starting to put toxic fillers in some of these too, like soybean oil and things like that. So you got to be wise, and you have to read the ingredients, and you have to know. That's why I teach you how to do this. I have a whole chapter in 7 Pillars on how to.
And of course, I like to
teach how
plug
to do
ours. You can go to drcolbert.com, and he's worked very hard, Divine Health Nutritional Products, which is what's helping us do our ministry.
Okay, buy the book.
Thank you.
I know you didn't touch on this, but what does high potassium in someone who has type 2 diabetes mean?
Oh, high potassium? Well,
Potassium
again,
found inside the
if a
blood.
person has high potassium, it can mean usually that their kidneys are not functioning up to par. And so we look at the phosphorus and we look at the potassium. And when a person's had type 2 diabetes for a long time, we especially want to look at the creatinine and the BUN to make sure they're functioning okay. But as you have diabetes long term, you eventually develop kidney disease with diabetes, even type 2. And so when you start developing disease, the creatinine goes up, the BUN goes up, the potassium goes up, and the phosphorus goes up. And then they want to, put you on these powerful diuretics and things like that. So what we do is again, the first thing, control the diabetes. That's number one. Control the blood sugar, control the blood pressure, and then start drinking water. Water is your best thing. That's the most important pillar you can drink. But you've got to control. I wrote a book, The Bible Cure for Type 2 Diabetes, and we've reversed so many type 2 diabetes. But if the potassium's starting to go up, then that diabetes is affecting the kidneys. And you need to have that monitored. You need to go see your doctor. But most importantly, you need to lay sugar on the altar, high glycemic food on the altar. You got to get rid of belly fat. You got to exercise. You got to follow what I wrote in the type 2 diabetes, and you can be healed. But you don't want to wait until you have full-blown kidney disease. You want to go ahead and start doing it now so you can reverse it. Okay?
Thank you.
Sure.
Hi, this is kind of a complex question. I had used hydrocortisone cream.
You've used what?
Hydrocortisone cream on my body.
Cortisone cream? Hydrocortisone cream?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Speak in the
so-
mic so I can hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There you go.
And so I think from using that, I ended up with anxiety. Is that
Wait, now what
possible?
kind of cream? Over-the-counter cream?
Yeah, well, it was prescribed. It was prescribed.
Okay, it's prescribed. How much did you use?
How much did I use?
Right. Did you have, where'd you use it on? What part of
I
your body?
used it on this part of my body, and I used it for 4 days.
Oh, that's not going to be enough to cause that usually.
Well, then I don't know. I ended up with anxiety for some reason. Okay, and then now I've ended up with acid reflux.
Okay, now again, if
So
you
how
use,
do
if you use a large amount of a real strong cortisone cream, it can trigger depression in some people and anxiety in some, but it's usually got to be a very high dose.
Like how high?
Well, again, it's usually not the cream, it's the pills, it's the cortisone
Oh, see,
pills.
and I just use cream.
The cream rarely, I've never seen that happen.
Oh, all right.
And again, and the anxiety can cause the reflux because when you're anxious, your body, you're not producing enough hydrochloric acid nor enough enzymes, so the food sits in your stomach too long and reflux is up. So you got to chew your food real good. You need a good digestive enzyme with hydrochloric acid. You got to eat, at least 3 hours before you go to bed. And
You've got to get some belly laughters.
and
You've got
need
to start laughing
unstick
more.
your stress response.
Yeah, so now I have to go to the doctor, and they want to do like an endoscopy.
Well, that's okay. Let them do an endoscopic exam to make sure there's not any Barrett's esophagus, which unlikely there is, and make sure there's no ulcer, no H. pylori. But what's happened is somehow your stress response got stuck. Somehow you got into anxiety. The anxiety is causing your reflux or contributing toward your reflux. And so you need to get your stress response unstuck.
And how do I do that?
Well, I'm going to be talking about that tomorrow night.
Are you?
You
Yes,
got to come
I
back
am.
tomorrow night. You're going to have to do what we talk about tomorrow
Yeah,
night.
do what I talk about tomorrow
You'll be
night and
healed.
stick it.
Okay.
Okay.
And so as far as like the acid reflux, just go to my regular doctor and let them.
Acid reflux is so easy to fix, but they're going to put you on the little purple pill. That's what 90% of
Well,
them do.
that's the problem. Is they put me on Prilosec.
Yeah. I know, that's what they do, and that turns your acid off, and then it opens up a whole other can of worms.
And so what
Now,
do you suggest?
It's okay to do that short term, but let's get to the root. And I'm going to get to the root tomorrow night,
Are you? Oh, perfect.
okay?
Okay.
So instead of telling you the whole sermon tonight, I'll tell you tomorrow night.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, thank you for coming. My question is, have you worked much with food allergies, sensitivities?
Yes, absolutely.
And it
Tremendous.
seems even odors and perfumes. And
You got
it's
some
just so
environmental illness,
And
chemical
where would you
sensitivity.
start to detoxify first?
Well, here's what you do. Again, when you have that, what I do is I'd run some tests. I do a special liver detox panel, and I use Genova Labs, and I check the genetics. I check your phase 1 and phase 2 liver detox enzymes because you have most likely a mutation, and it's usually on the glutathione gene. So I'd start with that.